Hi everyone, welcome to Port Waves episode 7. I'm your host Edna Dominguez, HR business partner in the Human Resources Division.
And I'm Talisa Saunders, administrative analyst in HR, and together Edna and I will be your hosts. The year is almost over, and we would like to extend an invitation to all Port teammates for the 2023 Winter Orientation.
It's happening on December 5th. We will be recognizing teammates reaching their service milestones. There's going to be food, entertainment, and more. Details to come soon, so keep an eye out from training and development for more information. Teammates, we have some trainings for the month of November you won't want to miss. CPS HR Consulting will be hosting a training at the PAB on Wednesday, November 1st from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. on organizing and prioritizing for success.
Mission Square Retirement will be hosting trainings this month. On November 1st, from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., there will be a virtual session on financial planning basics.
Also, Tish and Neil from Mission Square Retirement will be on site at the PAB on November 14th for one-on-one appointments. Be sure to secure your spot promptly. And on November 15th, the Long Beach Federal Credit Union is hosting a training virtually on the Scholar Share 529 plan.
To participate in these trainings, make sure to RSVP promptly and access the Learn system for additional trainings.
Also, be sure to keep an eye out for weekly training highlights via email from Training and Development.
And some big news to report, the Port of Long Beach is bidding a bittersweet goodbye to its long-serving intranet.
But don't worry, because there's a shiny new intranet coming to replace it. Here to tell us how it will make all of our dreams, professional and otherwise, come true is Video and Technology Officer Chris Berry. Chris, I hear that there's something exciting coming with the Port's intranet. Can you tell us more about it?
Sure, Edna. For the past few months, Information Management and Communications have been working on a completely new platform for the Port's intranet. The current intranet was installed back in 2006, and the software for it hasn't been supported for a few years now, so it's definitely time for a change. So we've had folks in each division working on cleaning out some of the old outdated content. IM has been doing lots of things behind the scenes to get the new site set up, and I've been moving content over to the new site.
So what can we look for and when?
So first of all, we're hoping to launch the new site sometime around the middle of December, or maybe just a little bit before. Watch your emails for news about that, and no one will have to do anything. Just one day the old site will be replaced with the new one. And second, we're trying to move things over, trying to make the experience better, but also make it very close to the look and feel of the current intranet, so our teammates don't have too much trouble locating things that they need to do their work. And then as time goes by, we'll be adding new features because this platform allows for a lot of expansion. And eventually we'll be training users in each division to maintain their own content. And that was the idea of the intranet in the first place. But as the software has gotten a little crankier over the years, we've had fewer and fewer people working on it. So the new site was designed by Stellar Agency, who also designed our new POLB.com public site that launched back in 2020. So the look of the new intranet will be a sort of a combo of the public site and the current intranet, so it should feel familiar and fresh at the same time.
Great. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
Yeah, I'd like to just thank Nariana and Ben and everyone in information management. I think just about everyone in that division has been involved in the project. And a special shout out to Randy McKetta and Denny Matthews. They've been in charge of keeping the whole project on track and fingers crossed on schedule. And also a special shout out to Max Messiah, who did some really heavy lifting for us by downloading all of the files, the PDF files that are stored on the intranet. There were nearly 30,000 of them, and he downloaded them in a way that they're organized and easy for us to put back together. So thank you to everyone in IM for all the work you're doing on this.
Thank you so much for joining us, Chris, and we look forward to seeing the finished site.
Thanks, Edna.
The Port of Long Beach isn't just one of the busiest seaports in the world, it's also one of the most picturesque.
Every year, the Port's Communications Department sponsors local photographers to come to the port, take a harbor tour, and capture the Port of Long Beach in all of its glory.
The program's lead organizer and creator, Jen Choi, stopped by to tell us about the program's history and this year's winning pictures.
My name is Jen Choi. I'm the manager of creative design in Communications and Community Relations Division. The photo program was started actually with another teammate, Mario Gonzalez, after a brainstorming session on how we can combine our community relations outreach efforts with the arts. And that's when the photo program was established, and that was back in 2013, and it's been about 10 years now. Since then, we had about 500 participants total, and with each of them submitting 3 pieces each throughout the years, we have about 1,500 photos in our collection to this date. And of course, because of the pandemic, we had a little break in 2020. So what we did was we kind of shifted that to online basis, and we started PhotoWorks, a social media-based Facebook group. And today we have about 841 active members on there. Yeah, we cater to all photographers from beginning to professionals, and it's amazing how many curious, creative photographers out there that are really kind of curious about the Port of Long Beach. So what we do is we give them an opportunity to come to the port in an exclusive harbor tour that is led by our professional photographers. So they basically curate the whole entire tour so that each photographer has the best positioning to take beautiful photos. What was different than most years was that we actually introduced a sunrise tour, which gives it a whole different perspective of how the port operates earlier in the morning. There's some certain sense of calmness, there's different activities, birds are a lot more active. I love abstract images around the port because as a creative professional here at the port, we are constantly shooting commercial photos that have the ship with the perfect logos, with the crane in the background, with the Port of Long Beach and the city kind of position. But I think throughout this program, what I really love is that participants are able to be artistic, so they can submit images that are abstract. It could be a color or it could be a storyline that they see out there that I don't really get to see on a normal basis. So it's good to see a variety of different artwork portrayed. It's a different lens that we get from these community photos. We have 3 winners. The top prize went to Warren Gatling of Las Vegas for Wells Waldo. The second place was awarded to Tim Bryant of Garden Grove for Easy Does It. And the third place went to Michael Gonzalez of Long Beach for Birds That Flock Together, Port Together. The gallery will be open till November 30th. The pieces will be displayed at the Port Administration Building Monday through Friday from 7:30 to 5:30.
The Port of Long Beach is an organization with global reach with customers and partners all over the world. That means port executives and commissioners travel far and wide to places with very different customs and cultures from our own as they conduct port business.
But fortunately for them, there's someone with the diplomatic knowledge necessary to help guide the way. I spoke with research and protocol analyst Christina Skacan about her past travels and how she prevents any international incidents here at the port. I'm really excited to talk to you, first of all, because your role is so unique to the port, and I frankly don't think I've ever heard of something like this before. So can you guide me a little bit about what you do and the kind of work that you work on here?
Sure, Edna. Thank you. It's really a pleasure to join you on Port Waves. I've always said I have a face for radio, so thank you.
Of course.
As a research and protocol analyst, it's very much a position of staff support. What does the commission staff and, of course, the Board of Harbor Commissioners, what do they need in terms of their travel and logistics and in supporting all the other functions? Commissioners themselves do so much work that is behind the scenes on the issues, on the matters in the pipeline brought before the board. So if there are some research items and other things, of course, I'm ready to help out in that regard. And then, of course, the commissioners, as the port does so much sponsorship, community grants work. We have so many events out and about in the community. Just the behind-the-scenes support. I think in sports, it would be a utility player. That's really what the research and protocol analyst is.
A little bit of everything, right?
Indeed, and that keeps it interesting and, quite frankly, pretty fun.
How did you get your start?
Well, I must say I was a teacher for many years. I taught Catholic high school, so I got a little bit of hazardous duty pay for that. But I did decide that it was time for a grown-up job. And so I had, and this will probably come out as you ask me a few other questions, but I was serving in the Navy and was about to deploy for my third time, Iraq, Afghanistan, and decided when I came back that that's pretty tough on my students. You know, disappearing for a year,
Yes.
no matter how wonderful they are, it upends more than 100 teenager schedules. And I decided, you know what, time to use some of those skills that I had been teaching and that I had learned working for the Navy. And I was very fortunate to come to the Port of Long Beach.
And how does that relate to what you do now?
Well, a couple of things. So in the Navy, I was a public affairs officer for the vast majority of my time in the Navy. So a lot of public affairs, public diplomacy, strategic communications, things like event coordination, lots of research and prep and being a good staff officer, integrating with the other specialties on the staff. And so that sort of utility player, behind the scenes support of what we would call a primary or an actual, it aligns very similarly to supporting the board.
Okay. So it was just it was a seamless transition. It was just very...
Oh, I wouldn't say seamless. I'm sure my my boss doesn't think it was seamless, you know. But I do think I did bring a lot of skills and experience and education that were readily applicable. And I think it's very important to be flexible. If the job changes a little bit or if the needs of the day require a little bit of something unexpected or something different, you just got to go with the flow and get it done.
And we did talk about that the other day, you know, the pivoting. There's always something that you have to pivot and you have to just prioritize and just get everything that needs to be done. So
You said that perfectly, Edna, perfectly.
thank you. And how was it like for you growing up? I know travel is a huge part of your life, but did you travel growing up? Was that something that you liked?
You know, I did travel a bit growing up, but the major travel came with the Navy. So I served in the Navy. I just retired, interestingly, just like practically recently.
Thank you for your service.
You're quite welcome. It was an honor and a privilege, and I say that with all seriousness. But for the Navy, I served on 5 continents in the air and at sea. And so that travel, as I was either myself the person, because public affairs is a very small specialty. We're what they call high demand, low density, meaning there are way more public affairs jobs than public affairs people. And so you're often either a one of one, you travel and meet the mission on your own and then join, get in there, drink from the fire hose, do your bit, and get out. Or as I became more senior, I was responsible for getting the right sailor with the right skill sets to the right job in the fleet at the right time with the right gear. So all of that logistical interface, you don't do it all on your own, but like for the board, you're working with other divisions, other staff, to ensure that all of the logistics, movement, ground, air, for our case in the Navy, sea, the security, all of the travel requirements, passports, visas, which passport to use.
You're working with a lot of people then
Exactly.
here.
And all of the interagency coordination, the experience with the State Department. So I worked with 7 different U.S. embassies. On 2 different occasions, my workspace was inside the U.S. Embassy. And I worked with so many of our counterparts in our host nations, our foreign officers and civilians who, for their nation, whether it's Thailand or Afghanistan, whether it's Singapore or Germany.
That is truly fascinating.
Indeed. And Africa, Ghana and Togo. Very, very
So you got to
interesting
do a lot. You got to travel a lot too.
place. I did.
That's
I did. And
awesome.
facilitate other people's travel.
And that's kind of what you do now with our commissioners. You facilitate their travel, make sure that everything's good to go. And one of the major things is understanding culture and just being culturally aware. And I wanted to ask you about one of your major roles here is researching a lot of that. So how do you approach researching culture? What sources do you use, or how do you go about that?
The first place I always start is with the U.S. Department of State. I go to their website and I go to all of the various aspects of their website that pertain to the travel at hand. The international travel, the enrolling our travelers in the SMART program. I go to the U.S. Embassy page and the consulate pages of the country or countries to which we're traveling. I then go to the embassy page of the host nation, Thailand or Japan, Canada, whatever it may be. So I go through all of that, the entry and exit requirements, the health requirements, and I find that fun. For me, it's like putting together pieces of the puzzle. The preparation. In addition, I use the Department of State Protocol Guide, the U.S. Navy Protocol Guide. There's a wonderful site, the Protocol School of Washington. For events around here, I've used the U.S. Flag Guidance. We have L.A. County Protocol Guidance, and we have City of Long Beach.
Just in general, I know there's many different cultures that have different things that differ from us. What is something that stood out to you?
You know, what always sticks in my mind is, again, from my Navy experience, when in both Iraq and Afghanistan, we had to go to areas that were excruciatingly sensitive and dangerous because of the circumstances of why we were going, what had occurred. So not just the geography, but the religious splintering, the gender issues. I have been the only female in a room of 50 or 100 men, including warlords, that, you know, they're trying to communicate how are we going to work together. But that always sticks in my mind. For the port, though, gift giving, because one of the
That's
aspects,
huge.
yeah, one of the aspects of my job is to sort of keep an inventory and be certain we well display the gifts we've received, but also helping the commission staff and the commissioners decide what would be an appropriate gift. That needs to be researched, but even down to being sure we pack it and we can get it there through customs without it being in any way damaged.
What do you think is important to consider when researching what kind of gifts are appropriate?
Well, the level. Who's in the room, right? Who's in the room? History. Do we have a long history with this group and so we don't want to repeat? Is this a new relationship? We really like to commission local artists. Not only does that help sponsor, if you will, art in the community here in Long Beach or in Southern California at least, but then there's a very local flavor, and Jen Choi and her team will often develop for us an insert so the gift recipient will know that we took the time to commission a local artist. This came from our home, from Long Beach or from Southern California.
Has there been a country recently that you've researched, something that stood out to you, something that's very interesting that you've come across?
Singapore is so exciting a place because the mix of cultures. Singapore uses English as their what they call standard language of business, but there are so many people of Malay influence. There is a wonderful Arab quarter. So many people from India who work there, Chinese influence, and so that metropolis of melting pot was very interesting.
Thank you, Christina. Now it's time for employee birthdays. For the month of November, we are wishing a happy birthday to Maria Vanoy in Executive,
Ramon Delgadillo in Security,
Gerardo Macias in Security,
Ramajit Barr in Construction Management,
Lisa Hong in Maintenance,
John Carpenter in Program Management,
Catrice Patterson in Project Controls,
and Suzanne Vachon in Design.
We would like to take a moment to congratulate Human Resources Director Sandy Witz and Ed Lascano in Design on their retirements. We wish you the very best of luck in this next phase of your journey.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Port Waves. If you have ideas for future episodes or any feedback, please email us at traininganddevelopment@polb.com. And be sure to keep an eye out for Port Waves Episode 8 coming to you in December.
Port Waves is made possible by your hosts, Edna Dominguez
And Talisa Saunders, and it's produced by Chris Berry and Kevin Walker.